Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. My name's Abby.
My name is Tori, and today we have a very special guest, one of our best friends, Sadie, and we cannot wait for you guys to meet her and to hear a bit about our friendship because we're going to be talking about all things love this Valentine's season, so all throughout February.
Love month.
Happy Love Month! But we want to start that off with friendship because it's not just romantic relationships. Friendships are so important and so crucial. So, Sadie, welcome to the podcast. We are so glad to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. I wouldn't want to be with anybody else. In Love Month especially.
Especially.
Okay, I guess that's my cue. To start us off, we have a little fun question for you. So, what is something that you have done or said to get out of hanging with a friend?
Oh, gosh. I think probably just saying I can't that day. Just no reason. I just can't.
I don't want to
come.
lie. I just can't.
I just literally can't. Or just I'm busy that day, unfortunately. Yeah. And there's other times where it's like, I just know that they're not like one of my staple friends. And so, yeah, I'm just like, shoot, I can't. I'm sorry. But, yeah. But never to you guys. Never to you guys.
Same. We were talking about this before because I definitely am that person. It's hard for me to want to hang out with people sometimes unless they are, like, in my close group of friends. But Abby.
Whenever we were in high school, my family has crops, and so we grow beans and corn, and so anytime that my friends would want to hang out, literally every time my mom would be like, no, we have to pick green beans, and so then I'd have to text and be like, well, sorry, I have to pick beans, and they'd be like, you're crazy. I'm like, nope, I'm actually out picking beans.
Me and my friends, we would get so mad. We're like, Abby's always picking beans. She gets to pick her friends for once. Yeah,
I couldn't. I would have
that's true story.
been sold from the family or something. I don't know.
That's taking machine.
That's a good excuse. I'll have to use that one next time.
Sorry, I gotta pick beans.
Gotta pick beans.
No longer that you just can't. You have intention. You are gonna pick some beans. Yeah.
Providing for the family.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Alrighty. Okay, so segue kind of into the topic today, friendships. All things friends. So what does it mean to have a friend to you or to be a friend to you? What does that look like?
I definitely think it's one of those things that you give and take in a friendship. Friends to me, some things that make people my friend, well, one, you just act authentic to me. And once I finally open up to people, just be weird with me. Obviously, just being yourself with me. And also just highlighting the good in each other. I think that's so big in friends. I shouldn't say always, but in the past, I've just been extremely blessed to be attracted to the people who challenge me to be better. And I think that's super important in a friendship. And I hope that in return, I also challenge others to be better in a friendship.
That's good. You definitely have made me better. And I feel like we kind of seclude ourselves to each other a lot. And we're scared to let people into, be close friends with us because we just value friendship so much. And so that's where I feel like this was such a special thing because it was the moment that we met you. We could just be goofy in ourselves and we just clicked. I felt like immediately, and I realized this is a friend that I want to have for a long time. Because there's a lot of people you feel like you can't be yourself around, or there's just never an awkward beginning intro with us.
We really didn't, and I don't know why that is, but we all just clicked from the very start, which I'm grateful for because that is not the case with everybody. And Tori, I've known you for so long, and we used to go to church together, and then we came to this other church. Both of us made
around the same time.
Yeah, somewhat. Mine a little bit later, but it's just kind of cool how our paths recrossed, so it just felt like it was meant to be. And then Abby, since you were close with her, it was just the perfect little match. And to your guys' point, it's fair to be somewhat, I don't want to say secluded in a bad sense, but just being very careful who you're with, because it's easy to let people in and then just learn that there's wrong intentions or just not be close in the end. So I think that's fair.
Same. And it is funny because our paths kind of crossed a lot, but I don't know that we ever talked. We maybe had one conversation. And so for me anyways, it felt like at a time in both of our lives that we needed each other, that God had our paths cross, because I feel like I'm sure we had similar personalities because we clicked so quick, but I just don't think at that season of our life we would have connected as immediately as we did. And I think that we helped each other get through a difficult season of growth that we needed someone to kind of help push us through, and like our jobs changing and all of these things. It was like we were experiencing all of this change at the exact same time together, which was wild because I was terrified, you were terrified, and we just helped each other through it. And so I think sometimes there might be people in your life who you might think, oh, I want to be friends with them, or it would be so cool too, but God might orchestrate that at the season that it needs to be. And I think that's kind of what happened with us. So.
It is. It's so cool. And the thing is, we were not only going through the same thing, but we were feeling all of the same emotions. And then even you and Abby had worked together, plus been best friends for so long. That's like almost in a way intimidating for me because I don't want to like change anything for you guys, but it never felt that way because it was such an organic shift. So it was just so nice to be able to relate to two people so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so good.
I think that's important too, though, because we didn't have to force it. Not that you shouldn't get out of your comfort zone sometimes, and I think you need to be intentional, have conversations, be kind to people, get out of your comfort zone. But with people you let like super close to you, you shouldn't have to force it. And I do feel like it was very natural. So
I completely agree.
I feel like in different seasons of our life, like going from high school to college to now marriage, like there's different people that come in your life in different seasons. And I feel like sometimes that's hard to navigate, and especially like whenever you click so well with like your high school friends and then you guys all like go to college and you're all dispersed. Like how do you think you maintain that, or should they be maintained through your different seasons of life?
That's a really good question. So I have always been so fortunate to have great friends in my life, and I know not everybody experiences that. But in high school, I was able to align with some girls, and even now my fiance, we started out as friends, and I think that's why we get along so well, because we're still best friends. He even still calls me best friend all the time, and that I'm always like, best friend. But so just staying in contact with them has been super fun. And even though I am not as close with them, we still talk a lot. And so I think that helps. And I know that deep down, if I really ever need anything, I can still go back to them. And then once I moved from high school to college, I instantly found a great friend group at college because I got to play basketball at Evangel. So they're like instantly, you just become friends with them because you're with them most of the day. And so I found a really awesome group of girls there, and they're still some of my best friends. We still talk every day. But it's so different once you move from that school scene to adulthood, because now I never see my college friends. We all live in different states now, and it just makes it really tough, and it's really sad. So it makes when you see them that much sweeter. But I think you have to be intentional about looking for other people you can surround yourself with. And one of the best places to look is church, and that's where I found you guys. Even though it was my job that brought me to you guys, it was in the church, and I would have and I first found it through serving at church. I wanted to serve on the with photography at church. And so that's how I kind of got first in contact with you guys and made it that much sweeter. So I think just putting yourself in places that you're going to find those good people. And it's really just an effort to maintain those relationships. It's not always easy. Like I said, me and my friends all live in different states now, but we still make a point to every few days, like, hey, thinking about you guys, love you, we'll catch up, and we'll have random phone calls. So it's definitely an effort. But I think just always making yourself available to be that friend to somebody, and then putting yourself in the position to be that friend, make new friends in good places. So had I taken a different route in college, maybe going to a different college. I went to a Christian university. I'm not saying everybody has to, of course, but it sure helped me surround myself with people that I wanted to be aligned with. And then I found my new group of people at church. So, yeah, just surrounding yourself with the right people.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I feel like my first year of college, I was like, kept them quiet to myself, and I'm pretty quiet if I'm not around my group of friends. But then this next year of college, I made some really awesome friends, and very fortunate for that. But it wasn't because I was sitting there being quiet. I had to go and make the friends. So, yeah, it's important to put yourself out there and go seek them.
It's a constant effort. Effort to make the friends, effort to maintain friends, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it can be hard for some people to put themselves out there because where Sadie had mentioned that you feel like you've always been blessed. So in all the different seasons in school and then in college, I'm sure you've had troubles with friends as well because that just comes with the blessings of friends. You also have troubles with that. But for me, growing up, I just felt like when I moved, so I switched schools from having like 5 people my age to like 300 people in my grade, and it was so overwhelming, and it felt like for a minute, everybody kind of wanted to know me and be my friend, and then like I'm not the new person anymore, and so then I'm struggling, where do I fit in, where do I go, and I get in with a friend group, and then I'm like out of one, and so for me, even when Abby was wanting to become closer friends with me and wanting to hang out and stuff outside of school, I didn't want to because I was just so over it. I'm like, I'm so over like my friends not sticking around and not being my friends anymore. And so I guess that would be my encouragement is don't let past hurt prevent you from seeking other friendships because I can't imagine my life without you guys as my friends. I just can't, and I don't want to.
That's so
I don't
nice.
want to imagine that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And kind of bouncing off that topic, you have to be really careful, though, about who you do let in your circle because you have to just use a lot of wisdom. The Holy Spirit gives us wisdom, and maybe it's our gut turning or our mind kind of whispering something like, I probably shouldn't talk about this. I probably shouldn't say this. Like, it does take a lot of trust to be my friend, and that's just being wise with your words and stuff. You just always have to be so careful about what you say because, you know, people do tend to sin or like make mistakes and say stuff that they're not supposed to. So just also being very careful who you let in your circle, which can be really hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just like get word vomit. I'm like, why did I say that? Why did I do that?
Yeah.
That was good. That was one of our other questions. Is it important who you surround yourself with?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that can be like really hard to judge sometimes because when you meet somebody and you instantly click with them, you just kind of feel that sense of trust with them. And it just like teaches you just be wise in what you're saying. If the Lord was sitting right there, would you still say that? You know, like would he condone what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's so easy, like, I mean, in school, it was so easy to just flock towards the positive, or not positive, the popular people, even though they weren't doing the, like, wise choices or being glorifying to God. It was still, like, the cool thing to do, and it was easy to be friends with them for a little while. And then after a while, like, they still have their clique, and so then you're left out of it, and so it's hard.
And I did experience that a little bit in high school. I have friends that I still talk to from my class in high school, and I obviously still love and care for those people so much. But I clicked more and just felt more inner peace, I guess, with some people that were younger than me for whatever reason. Like I clicked better with them. And I think that I don't really want this in there, but
I can cut it out.
Okay, just like, you know, you can still be friends with people, but you know you're not going to do everything they're going to do. Because I was left out some in high school too, because they knew that I didn't do stuff. So they're like, well, I would get hurt because I wasn't invited to parties and stuff. And my mom one time, she was like, do you want to be invited? Like, do you really want to be invited? And I'm like, it's the concept. I just want to be invited. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I just want to be invited, you know? It's just feeling part of something.
Yeah.
Which I don't care if that part's in it, but I don't want anybody from high school to be like, oh my gosh, she said we partied all the time. Because it wasn't all the time, but.
Yeah. No, and anybody who knows your heart, though, doesn't take it like that.
Yeah,
And
well,
isn't taking that in any judgy way, because that's not how you are. You've never presented yourself like that. I've never heard you talk down on anybody ever, which is
nice.
another reason that, like, I gravitate towards you, because like you said, I don't remember how you worded it, but something about, like, the people that you're around impacting the, like, way that you feel and stuff. You never make me feel drained or like, oh, Sadie's always going to be complaining, or Sadie's always going to, I always feel better. Like, I always leave you feeling recharged, and I'm like, that is the kind of friends I want to surround myself with. And so when you said something about, does it matter who you surround yourself with? I heard a quote a while back that if you show me my nail, they weren't supposed to see. but I'm sorry, but if you were to show me the 5 closest people in your life, I could tell you who you are. And I thought of, like, the 5 closest people in my life and realized how true that is, because there's different things, different traits from each of them that you kind of adapt, even in the way that you talk. Like, when we're around each other too much, we start to kind of all talk the same. It just happens naturally. But that's why it's so crucial who you surround yourself with, because if by default that's who people are attaching me to, thinking that, oh, Tori must be that way because those are her friends or that's who she's around. But also, even if it's not assumption, it will impact me and affect me, and I might start acting not like myself, because I did try so hard to fit into groups that I just didn't fit into. And then I'd be in some classes with kids who maybe weren't as popular, or who, like, the art classes. I just love me some good art classes, but, like, those are my people, and I connected. I just connected with them, and we could talk about things. And it's not that people would have thought we were friends really outside of there, but it's like, I think God has wired you and gifted you in certain ways to reach different kinds of people, and you need to tap into that and really use that, instead of, once again, like, trying to force yourself into places that you don't fit in as much, because it's so uncomfortable trying to fit into groups that you don't, and trying to put on a facade that you're not. It's so uncomfortable.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And then you start to wonder, like, who am I? Like, literally identity crisis. Who do I want to be? Where do I fit in? And so I think figuring out who you are really does come from figuring out who are your closest people and how do you connect with them. And they will shape you into who you are in a good way or a bad way, regardless. The people who you let closest. So
So true. And sometimes it's really hard to get yourself out of situations with friends that you maybe love but don't want to be like. So just trying to kind of distance yourself. I know I've had some people in my life that, I don't know, just maybe, for one, my mom was like, I don't know, what do you think about her? And I'm like, well, I don't know, what do you think about her? She's like, well, I have a bad feeling in my stomach because
why do the moms know?
Mamas know. That is the phrase in my house. Mama knows all the time, because she does. But I think it's because I would come home every time, or I'd come home every time after talking with that person, and I just really never had anything good to say except gossip that we talked about. And unfortunately, my mom caught on to that, and now I look back and I'm like, what in the world? Because it really, like, I did end up naturally I distanced from her, but I was just like, what? How did she know that? And how did it work out so well? To just, Mama knows every time. Yeah. Thankful.
It's good. I feel like it's important to trust your mom too. Like, if she's telling you, like, that's not a good friend that you should be around, even if you don't see it, maybe just take a second look at it, because it does hurt in the end. And
at times it can be so frustrating when people are trying to tell you how to do relationships. You're like, I'm young, just let me figure it out on my own. But just, it's important to use the people. They're trying to help. And then I see people and I just want to help. And I'm like, sometimes people just have to live it out on their own and experience it to like really fully understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, which, and obviously we're talking friendships today, but we've all, had things in relationships before where people have, tried to pour into us, and we wanted to figure it out on our own, and we did, and we grew and we learned. But I think it's just as true. We can preach that on relationships all day long, but it is just as true in friendships. Seeking wise counsel, whether that's a parent or a friend who is looking out for you, always someone who has your best interest. But if you have someone who every time you leave hanging out with, you just feel drained and not well, then you might have to consider creating some distance, at least for a season, because maybe you both need to grow. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. There's a verse, I can't remember where it is, but the one that says, "Bad company corrupts good character." Read it for us.
Okay.
Is that all it says, or is that just concept?
No. It says more. Whole context. Okay. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." It said that.
You teed it up so well, but first, do not be misled. Like, we've all seen that play out, not just in our lives, but I've seen it too in the students. Like, that's a big thing for me, leading the students. I'll see a kid who is so on fire for God, and then I'll see them start shifting into a different friend group, and I love all of the students the same. And so my hope is maybe they'll go be a light there, and like that's what they need, but it doesn't say good character heals bad company, because it's way easier for the bad company to corrupt good character. So I get so scared when I see students going into friend groups that I know are not going to benefit them and going to pull them away, because 9 times out of 10, I don't want to say 10 out of 10, because God can do work, but that's how it seems to pan out, and it breaks my heart. But
I feel like that's true in us too. Like, even if we go find a new job, and I worked at a fast food restaurant for a little while, and none of them were Christians that I knew of, and so it kind of started to change me and like how I talked and how I and it wasn't who I was, but I only worked there for a little season of life, but it definitely corrupted my thoughts and how I acted. And so anywhere you go, I feel like there's definitely, you have to be cautious of who you're surrounding yourself with.
And I think it's always so much easier to do something that you wouldn't normally do with the pressure of somebody else. And I think that's why it's so easy to corrupt. Just because you feel the pressure of like, oh my gosh, will this person still think of me the same if I don't do X, Y, Z? Which is hard, especially when there's a group doing something.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the oddball out, but
It's hard to hang
you're
out
called to
with
be the
certain people.
oddball out.
Yeah, that's true. Literally, we are called to be set apart.
You're called to be that weird Jesus freak.
And that might be why at times we get left out of things, and you just have to understand the circumstances. Now that I'm older, I'm like, man, I don't really care.
Yeah, me too.
But
Agreed.
yeah.
That's good.
But in the moment, it's hard, and I know that
So
there's a lot
hard.
of students in that same. If I need to cut this out, you let me know. But a while back, we had asked some of our girls.
I made the most stupid face.
It's okay. A while back, we asked some of our girls if they ever thought about partying or anything, and most of them raised their hands. And honestly, I was surprised. But then it really is that just thought of, I don't know if it's, we were talking about, it's not really fear of missing out, FOMO, it's not really fear, it's just like, what is it like, or why? It's more, what is wrong with me? Why am I not invited, or that? And I know there's a lot of students who maybe they're trying to pursue a life of Christ, and then they're also like hoping to get invited to these things, which is kind of where we were at, but the middle ground is so iffy, and you like to stay there and rest there, you're gonna get 1 foot closer on either side of that line. And so you gotta make that decision, and you gotta know before the opportunity arises, because if not, then it's going to be so easy to be surrounded by bad company and fall into that. So I would say you just got to be proactive and know before.
And I feel like at that age is when it was the hardest for me too, because the one time I was invited to that party, it was a birthday party, and I knew there was probably at some point going to be alcohol, and I had just gotten my driver's license. So at least I had an out. But I lived a long ways from that person, like long ways as in like 35, 40 minutes, but that's not like convenient for my parents. So I was glad to have my driver's license. So as soon as I saw people leave, I knew what they were doing. So I was like, gotta go. So it's just like also setting those boundaries whenever you want to be invited, but you don't want to partake. I was like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. I gotta go. I got a long way to drive home. But so like to everybody else, it's like, what are you doing? And then to me, I'm like, I'm just really tired. God, I'm sorry I lied. I'm so not tired. But I gotta get out of here.
Excuse I was looking for.
I'm not tired. That's the excuse. Yeah, you should start it with that.
Yeah, I'm just tired. No, I probably had like basketball or something the next day. So it really is like sometimes activities can get you out of bad things, like when you are involved in things. So luckily, I usually had a pretty good excuse to get me out, but it's tough.
It is.
That age is tough. And luckily, like in college, that's when a lot of people find their freedom. I didn't really feel like I had freedom to find. Like, I was just fine. And I think it's because I had good friends who also had just little desire to do anything too crazy. Thankfully, I had that. I know that's not everybody's experience at all. So I do feel grateful.
Yeah, same.
So you're talking about in college, like it's kind of, or not in college, just any friend group that you've found, it's kind of easy to find those friend groups, but you're still cautious. What kind of qualities do you look for in your friends whenever you're searching?
Yeah, good question. So I usually resort to the friends who love the Lord. And like I said, I've just been blessed with that. And then also ones that are just genuinely happy. I'm a pretty optimistic person, and so I love people who just have the joy of the Lord. And then I love funny friends. I love a good laugh. That is...
Same. No, laughing is my favorite thing in the world. It really is.
And I think that's what makes my heart feel so overjoyed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Honesty. I know I'm not perfect, and sometimes it's really hard for me to hear criticism. But just being honest, all the time, good times and bad, which can be difficult. Let's see.
You're good. And if there are also qualities that, not that you should be looking at this in people and picking them apart, but I think in relationships we always say like, oh, there's a red flag, but I think in friendships sometimes there are red flags that it's like, maybe I shouldn't invest so much of my time and get emotionally invested in this friendship. Are there things that you're like, if someone is showing these traits, maybe they're not meant to be my best friend. Maybe they have character development or someone else's friend to be.
I think one of the biggest ones is gossip. Because it's so easy to fall into that, and I'm not saying I never do, because I obviously do. But I try to be kind of careful with that because it's something so easy to fall into. And what makes me think that if they're gossiping to me about somebody else, they won't gossip about me to somebody else, you know? So that's one thing that I kind of try to look out for. That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I'm not kidding, like verbatim. That's what my mom has preached to me forever. When I'd have a friend over, and if they were talking bad about someone else, she would say to me, like, if they're saying that about your other friend, they're probably saying that about you to the other friend. And it always made me like, but not about me. Like, what are they
But not me though, right?
Yeah, but no, and a lot of times she was right. And even if not, I still don't want to be around people who make me tempted to talk bad about the people I care about too. I don't want that temptation. Yeah, and I think
It's already tempting enough, just as it is. I don't need help, okay?
Yeah, please don't encourage it, because it's hard to either shut it down or to just like ignore it. I don't know, but I don't want to be engaged with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so easy to fall into as it is. Yeah, that's probably my biggest one.
That's a good one.
Do you guys have? What are yours?
I feel like for me, if someone, well, this isn't at you. You just were looking at me at the time. No, I feel like for me, if someone switches up on everyone that they're around, then I think I just have bad trust issues. Then I'm just like, I don't know if they're actually my friend or if they're themselves around me or if they're actually more themselves around that person. And I get it because, I mean, Paul says, be all things to all people. And so, like I said earlier, relating to people, having conversations, that's cool, that's good. But if someone seems like a completely different person around, like, someone they're in a relationship with versus me versus this friend group versus their parents, then I just start to question. I don't know that I trust them enough to be very close to me. Yeah. That's probably my biggest one.
That's a good one. That's good. I would like to add that to my answer.
Actually, that's my answer to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you can think? Your facial expressions.
Hold on, let me think.
Oh, you're good. Like if you're hanging out with someone, you're like, I don't think I should get very close to this person.
There's usually just a sense. Sorry.
No, that's
Go
okay.
ahead.
You can go first.
There's just usually like a gut feeling that I'm like, I just don't feel like they're being real with me. Luckily, like, I don't feel that around too many people, probably because I don't communicate with like a great amount of people that I'm not just genuinely friends with. Yeah. But I just feel like you can kind of sense it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that's true. I don't want to be judgy, so sometimes I'll think like maybe I'm not. Maybe I should just see it out and not just go with my gut feeling because I don't want to just shut something off, but usually that initial feeling is right.
Well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with like analyzing it and choosing not to be close with somebody because you're just not going to click with everybody. And that's the reality of it. What's yours, Abby?
Yeah, what you going to say?
Mine was not as serious.
I ruined it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you tell us what you got.
Mine is whenever people don't make you feel funny. I
That's
hate that. It like actually makes me so mad.
That is a good one. Actually, that's a really good one.
You can cut out this whole part, but that was just in my brain.
No, I don't want to cut this out because that's so true. When we say that
it is
laughing is your favorite thing, then if you're around someone who just makes you feel unfunny,
Stupid.
Yes, stupid. That is.
Just make that the real stupid.
I hate when people make me feel
too.
stupid. I'm like, just at least play along with me. It's just the overall thought of it. Like, you are intentionally going out of your way and making a face at me to make me feel stupid. And I hate that. So that was a really good answer.
yes,
Actually.
that was a really good answer. When people ask me like what is a top quality I'm looking for in someone who I want to be with, I hope that they're funny, but I'm a laughy girl. I'm gonna laugh about basically everything. So if he doesn't reciprocate that and make me feel funny, that just hurts me to the core. Like, I would rather be with someone who makes me feel funny than for him to be funny, truly. I need to be validated in that way. You gotta laugh with me. Don't make me feel dumb.
Yeah, and in that same sense, like, this kind of goes with it, but my number one love language is words of affirmation. And so, like, I need to feel reciprocated. Like, don't just judge me for what I say, but, like, if it's wrong, correct me. That's fine. But, like, when I'm just having fun, just have fun with me. You don't have to act like you're too cool for me. And because you're not,
It's like
obviously.
my biggest
Coolest.
I hate whenever like kids into like their teen years they change in their phases and they're just too cool to talk to you and it's like I'm just the same old me.
I
Just
know.
come joke with me.
At our girls. Not all of them. But no, it is hard. And you see, like, you see that shift from the middle school to the high school where they're just so goofy and fun. And it really, I don't want to dog on socials again, but it's around the time that they get, like, their phones and stuff and start seeing other things. And then they start to see certain things as cringy. Or they read comments that say, like, oh, that's cringy. And so now they're scared to be themselves and they're just embarrassed all the time. And then we do stuff and they make us feel embarrassed. And I'm like, oh, was that embarrassing?
Was that embarrassing? You taught me that was not embarrassing.
Yeah, I just like being around people who just are funny and think that I'm funny.
Yeah.
That was a good answer.
That was
Don't
a
doubt
good
yourself.
answer.
That's
Thank you.
the best thing I've heard all day.
Yeah, that was really good.
No, your guys' was just really serious.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't think I'm funny, they're out.
It's true. Gotta be
I agree.
fun to be with. And I feel like that's also such a thing with kids and their parents too, which again, like I feel grateful. I never really had too much of this phase of like thinking my parents were so embarrassing all the time, but it makes me sad whenever I see kids just being so mean to their parents. I'm like, you have no idea what they do for you, you know? Makes me so sad. I still am just obsessed with my parents. I am. Like, I just want to be them whenever I'm their age.
It makes me really sad too because so you say you never were. I feel like I was. There was a time I just thought I knew better about everything than everything. Mom, I want these friends. I want this boyfriend. I'm like smarter than everything. I know what's best for me. And she is her goofy, fun self. You know my mom. She's a big old goofball. And so she would be doing stuff and I would just get embarrassed and like annoyed. And then I look back and I'm like, I was the kind of the bully to my mom. And it makes me so sad because I don't ever want to dim her like light. I want to be the person she wants to be around and have fun with and be her goofy self. I don't want her to think like, oh, my kid's going to judge me if I'm being myself because that's what has made me so comfortable to be myself is seeing her not be afraid. And kids have an impact on their parents. I know your parents are over you, but you have an impact on them. And so I don't want to do any damage. And I'm like undoing some of what I feel like I did in my teen years now because my mom is one of my very best friends. And that was a relationship that had to be fixed and was obviously worth fixing. It's my mama, but I had to take accountability too. And there were things in my life and that I did to hurt that. So, yeah.
Well, and I think that's valid. I'm never, like, I had that phase as well with a relationship with a boy. Like, I lost who I was. My mom, after we broke up, my mom came back around. She's like, the old Sadie, the goofy Sadie. Like, I literally stopped being goofy. And it's literally, I think a lot of it was just, I was never a jealous person. But whenever I got with the wrong person, I became a jealous person all of a sudden. And, like, I just felt stupid for a lot of my goofiness. And so I just stopped being who I was. And unfortunately, like, I didn't realize that until we broke up, and then it was such a relief, and I was like crazy again. But it's just a relationship issue, you know, just taking accountability. And my mom, she told me,
Mama knows.
Mama knows, Daddy knew, sister knew, everybody knew but me.
That's the most frustrating thing too. That's why you need good friends who are close. Abby didn't know either. She was in it with me. She just like, we were just, yeah. But why you need friends who know too? Because you can be so like, I don't even know where the heck I was going with that.
Blind.
You can be so
You got your
blind.
blinders on.
Yes.
You open them up.
And you need someone who's going to tell you because when it's your family, you might just think like, oh, it's just my mom or my dad's never going to think anybody's good enough for me, my blah, 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 blah. But whenever one of your friends, so friends listening, like you got to be a good friend. And when your friend is not in a good relationship, like be that friend because I remember getting out of a relationship and everyone being like, oh, I thought you knew that this was happening or, oh, I wanted to tell you, but, and I'm like, but what? Like,
Yes, I had the same thing happen. People were like, they would make comments and I'd be like, well, what do you mean? They're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm like, and then afterwards they're like, well, I didn't say anything because I just thought you knew. I'm like, no, I told me. That's so embarrassing. It's
stupid
embarrassing.
is my biggest pet peeve. Now I feel stupid.
Yes,
like this is what I
yes.
just, yeah. 100%. And so that's another reason it's so good to have good friends because they're looking out for you and they're going to try to help you away from that stuff beyond just your family. If your family loves you and is looking out for you. But sometimes you need an outside source that it's not just, oh, that's just my family. Like, oh, my friend sees that. And my friend goes to school with us and my friend knows because sometimes you can get so in your head and just think like, but nobody sees him like I do, or nobody is like, yeah, but your friend.
I saw him like you did.
but see, me and Abby did. Nah, yeah, we were golden.
Anyways,
we also
I have
weren't
a question for
super
you.
close then, though.
That's true.
What you got?
Because you wouldn't let me come over.
I'm so sorry.
What would you say? So you were that friend to me that was always telling me like, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, and I'm sure it was so discouraging to see me like just staying in that relationship. What would you say to the friend that is trying to be helpful, but the friend that they're giving advice to is not taking anything?
Man, that's a good question. You really don't have control.
Yeah.
And that person's not going to realize it or want out of it until they want out of it. Because I might have not had someone who was one of my friends who was saying that, but my mom was like avidly saying that. But it wasn't until I was like, you know what, I'm done, I'm out of it. And I know that's so discouraging to hear, but I would just say pray and pray and pray and pray, because you don't have control. You don't. And till I'm like blue in the face, could have preached that to you and said, Abby, you deserve better. You know that you're worth more. And you did, and you knew, but also you're in it and I don't see what you see. Like, you're with someone and I don't see the good, right? That's how it always is. But I would say, as the friend who's watching your friend go through it, it's so much harder than being the one who's in it, because then you're like, you just see their worth. You might not see your worth when you're in it, but you see theirs. And so this is so hard to give advice to, because I tried, I feel like, with everything in me. I brought outside sources. I'm like my mom and my aunt are like having dinner with her.
And I still was
I put sticky notes all over her room. Like, I'm not a big fan of him on the fan. And I put so when she woke up in the morning, her room was covered in sticky. I mean, I did it, everything in the books, and then some. And I'm like, this girl's gonna marry him, and I'm asking her real life questions like, what if you marry him? And I'm just thinking, God, thank you for Colton Mott Singer more than anything in the world. You have no idea. But I got to a point where I was like, I have exhausted everything and I've got nothing else. And so for our friendship, it had gotten to an unhealthy point, because you were, I'm sure, probably bothered with me, and like, you want your person you're with and your best friend to connect. You want that. You should want that. And we didn't. And so I'm sure it was hard for her. It was hard for me. And I knew I couldn't do it, and so all I could do kind of in that moment was create distance, because it was so unhealthy for me to keep on trying. And then through that distance, like, I'm not saying that was the best decision that I could have made, but ultimately, when Abby and this person had to come to terms with it, it was their decision. It's not mine. It can't be mine. If it would have been mine, she may have always wondered what if, or she, may have felt like I manipulated that in the friendship. So I can try. You can try all that you want, but the biggest thing you can do is pray. Like, pour into them, let them know their worth. Don't sit back and say like, oh, but you didn't know this afterwards. Take those steps then, but just pray and pray and pray, because God did that. I did not do that.
I think that you definitely always loved me, and I'm forever grateful for that, because through love you did pray for me, and through love you did distance yourself, because it was hurting you to a point to see that. And I think that that's the most important quality, is that they will love you no matter what. And I think that's a very important quality to have in a friend, because, and I'm just, if you are that friend that feels like there's nothing left, I just don't give up, but do what's best for your mental health. And
keep loving them. You're right. That's so crucial, because the dumb saying that it's like, if you love them, let them go. It's like, if you love them, why would you actually let them go? But it's like, I loved you so much as my friend, and I hated seeing you through this. But it was like, God, you're going to have to do something miraculous, because I love her so much and I can't do anything. So, love them regardless.
Yeah. Well, and that person in the relationship only sees the good in the other person. Like, you get so good at ignoring the bad things, and you just almost block them out. And so whenever they happen, it's like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And then
but
you
keep
accepting
last week.
more and more.
Yes.
But you become more accepting of like all the trash, and then the good times are really good. So yeah, that was a great answer.
Thanks.
Good.
Yeah, but I do feel like that's true. You become more accepting, but also you kind of justify it, like, yeah, but they didn't mean it like that, or yeah, but like, you weren't there. It wasn't the way that I said, wasn't actually the way that they said it, like the way they phrased it. And, yeah, but the words still didn't like.
Well, and then you can even like kind of change. Well, I didn't do that. I really didn't. Whatever.
Like, it was really on me to,
Yeah, you like start to believe it when it's just not right.
Is it okay to let something end a lifelong friendship? So you've been best friends ever since you were little or for a very long time. Is it okay to let something come between that?
I don't know. That's so hard to answer because there are so many variables that it could have been. I feel like if it's something where you just shut them off, it's not really fair to them. That's not, maybe they're shutting you off. There's nothing you can really do about it if they're just like completely just not answering you or like talking to you or anything. So I guess that would end it pretty quickly. I don't think there's anything that you should do that's worth ending a lifelong friendship. There are things that are going to happen in every friendship, but I feel like you have to be like over communicating to get through those hard times. So like in the event that something really bad does happen, it's never going to get fixed unless you communicate about it. So on my part, I don't think there's anything that should, if they're truly the best friend that you're saying that they are. But I don't know. Sometimes people just grow apart. There have been people in my life that I'm like, oh, you are going to be my maid of honor, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, they were my best friend, but eventually we just grew apart, and I think things like that do happen. So is there like a specific event that you're speaking of? Because I feel like I'm not answering the question.
No, that was good. That was good.
This wasn't set up to like
No.
put you to a specific answer. It just, what was it that Haley had said? We were at coffee shop. One of our girls was kind of going through something, and the way that she worded this on if this girl should like continue this relationship, if she should pursue it, Haley had said, you just have to ask yourself that at the end of the day, are you able to move past this? That's the biggest thing, and like the key to if you can heal from that or if this is kind of a separator. Because first off, if you're going to hold this over their head for the rest of their life for one mistake that they made, that is so unfair to them. But also if they have done something to hurt you and you're like pushing through it and you know, once again, you're internalizing it, it's unforgiveness, it's so painful to you. So you have to ask yourself, can you look past this for the betterment of like the lifelong friendship and relationship? Or is this something that you're going to always hold a grudge for? And maybe you can be friends, but you need to create some distance. And when she said that, I was like, whew.
Yeah, that is really hard because there are
So
some
good.
things that I would just have obviously do my very best to give that forgiveness, but that doesn't mean that I necessarily want to keep that relationship going, you know? Yeah, I don't know.
I know. I don't know
just-
that there
it
is a
just
good
depends,
question
yeah.
or answer to that. I think it's circumstantial. Like you said, there's so many variables, but I also feel like it depends upon the person and their posture to forgive, but also, once again, the variables, knowing the person who hurt you, like, are they going to do that again? Because there are times when you need out and you need to stop making excuses and you need to stop giving reasonable explanations and prioritize your health and say, I think this isn't the best for me. So it depends.
Well, in that case, it seems like kind of what we were talking about earlier, like maybe they're just not that friend that they used to be to you anymore. You are getting the feeling in your gut and you need to move on. I don't know. I think that would be like a reason that people do move on. But I don't know. I don't feel like there's ever a reason to just break up necessarily and leave always feeling bitter. There have been people in my life that I hurt with one of my past relationships, and I just felt so much guilt towards it for so long. And finally, I just texted them and I was like, I don't know what this person told you. I do know that it was partially a lie because they accidentally texted it to me instead of to the other person. So I knew it was a lie. So I was like, I don't know what they said about me, but I know I didn't say nice things about you and I don't know why I did that. I'm really sorry. So like, I think that there is a way to part and just both go your own way, be civil, ask for forgiveness, offer forgiveness, and just work towards that goal.
That's good.
I don't know. That's hard.
That's a
It's
really
loaded
good answer,
question,
though.
but yeah, that's really good.
Thanks. I don't know.
You're welcome.
Love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates close friends. And I feel like that perfectly answers that last question of, is there anything that can separate a lifelong friendship? Well, love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it. It's the dwelling on it.
Yes.
So just asking for that forgiveness or talking it out is so powerful. And then Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend is always loyal and a brother is born to help in time of need. So again, just being that loyal person to your friend, and hopefully they reciprocate that. And if they don't, I don't know.
As iron sharpens iron, like you literally have to have iron in order to sharpen iron. So if you were to try and sharpen iron with wood, you're going to dull the iron here, and you're also going to damage the wood like that you're cutting into. And so if you're not with someone, we talk about being equally yoked in relationships, the people that you end up with, but I would say it's similar with friendship. You have to be made of the same thing in order to help each other grow and to be better and to sharpen one another. And sometimes that is hard. Like I think you said earlier, correcting and having friends who you trust to tell you, even though we don't like constructive criticism and stuff, being open to that, because there's people who you love and trust. With friends, they want to sharpen you and make you better, and you know that if you both know that you're made out of the same thing, meaning Christ is at the center, and you know they want the best for you, you're able to become better, even if it's hard to hear. Because sharpening iron, that's like clinging together. That's kind of messy, and you know, that could be painful, but they want your betterment and they want your growth. They don't want to damage you and harm you. So
It's not saying don't reach the lost.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think that's important, because we've talked a lot about finding the people that you click with and that you're close with, but we're supposed to go into like the ends of the earth and all over, and every person is worthy of hearing Christ. And I hear a lot of our students, I know I always talk about them, but saying, yeah, but like this friend group really needs me. Again, bad company corrupts good character, but you do need to disciple, and you love your friends. You might not be doing all the same things, and they may be doing things that you don't approve of, but you show them the love of Jesus by loving them, not by partaking in what they're doing, but by loving them and being a good friend and being a disciple. And so you're close, your inner circle, like Jesus had his 12 disciples, and then he had the 3 he was closest to. Make sure the people who are really close to you are good and helping you, like, to grow and be better, but don't use the people who are pulling you away from God as an excuse, like, oh, but I'm called to disciple them. They probably shouldn't be your closest 3 friends if you're called to disciple them, because they're not the iron that is sharpening you.
And I think, sorry, I know we're trying to wrap up, but I also do know that sometimes when you don't partake in certain things, it comes off as judgment to people. So just trying not to take a judgment approach, but just taking a different approach. You don't have to, I don't have to do everything that you do to fit in with you, but sometimes people have that time when they do reach their wits' end and they need a person to talk to. Maybe that's when they're going to wrap around and be like, oh, you know who's dependable? You know who never did this stuff? You know who might be able to give me advice? And be able to come back to you then.
I feel like this was a very beneficial episode. I think I could have really used something like this at multiple stages of my life, and that's the thing too. You might be watching this and thinking, oh, like easy for them to say. No, not until we got here. Now we can speak on it, but finding friends and being open to receiving good friendships has been really hard. And so to whoever's listening, through all that we said, we gave so many kind of different points. I think it can all be summed up with finding your people is knowing what you're looking for in friendships is super important, and Christ being at the center of that. If you are a Christian listening and you want to grow closer to him, then you got to do that like through his people, or you want to find good friends, they need to have like-minded values. But anything anybody has that they want to advise, or last words of wisdom?
No last words.
No last words. Okay, well, thank you again, Sadie. I will probably have you back on, I imagine, because you're just easy to talk to, fun to be with. Thank you, guys. guys for listening in on another week of XOXO Godly Girls and the whole month of February. We're going to be talking about all things love. Month of love. So this was about friendship, relationships next week. Coming up on Friday. You don't want to miss that. We'll see you back.
With that being said,
XOXO Godly Girls.